What is going on? Welcome to today's trade recap of the day. Today is Tuesday, February 10th, 2026. I'm going to be going over today's price action. The two trades I am taking today, I made $20,191 on the day. Total P&L was $21,991, but that included 3 Alpha Futures evals that they sent me over, so I'm not going to add in that. But yeah, the Alpha Futures did send me over 3 150K standard evaluation accounts that I'm going to try and pass, and I tried to 3x ratio them. And like what I do with like evals that have consistency rules like this, and this is the thing, I don't trade with that many evals that have consistency rules, but they send me over these accounts, so I'm like, all right, I'll copy trade these accounts with my live accounts, and I'll just like 3x the ratio. And you can do that with TradeSyncer. My dumbass, unfortunately, just copy trade or did the ratio wrong. I was supposed to do it on MNQ, and I did it on NQ. Bunch of jibber jabber I'm talking about right now, but let's get into the actual P&L. $21,000, but again, 3 of these accounts are evals, so I did only make a total of $20,191. Man, if I didn't have consistency rule, bro, the fucking trade that would have hit off this literal bottom tick, bro, 1 to 6 RR. So that's like the one thing that I'm going to try to be doing with these. I believe it's the standard accounts that they gave me, but it's like the best accounts that Alpha Futures has, and they don't have any consistency rule, which is so freaking fire. I'm really excited to start like try trading like trading high RR with these Alpha Futures accounts, see how I do with them, and maybe adapt my trading style to that, or because I can get like a pretty fat payout with that. But for now, I'm sticking with my consistency rules and grabbing my little 1 to 2 RR, which is all I need, a little piece of the pie. But let's get into this because we all obviously see multiple executions on my screen here. So let's get into the 2 trades I'm taking to actually make me this amount of money today. Okay, so coming into the day, I did have a bullish bias, okay? So I was bullish. Reasoning for this was because we were simply respecting bullish, disrespecting bearish on the higher time frame. Very, very easy way to tell my bias, right? You can clearly see when we look at this fat move that we had from yesterday, the move that we had on Monday, we traded lower. We traded into this internal liquidity being what? This fair value gap. And this is just how the market moves. The market moves from ERL to IRL and from IRL to ERL. What does this mean? Right? The market trades from fair value gaps and imbalances and then liquidity. Then the market trades from fair value gaps and imbalances and then liquidity. And then after we take out major liquidity, then we go from ERL back to IRL, and then sometimes back to more IRL and back to ERL, IRL, IRL, ERL. Sorry, that's getting confusing, but just know that's just how the market moves. This simply just means whenever you hear this term get used, it just simply means that price is trading from fair value gaps to liquidity and liquidity to fair value gaps, right? So right, that's what we were doing. We were just simply in an uptrend. And we have this buy-side liquidity pool here. I know a lot of people are going to be like, why do you not care that ES took out this high first and there was an SMT? Right, well, I did notice that there was an SMT on this high right here from yesterday. But what did we do with this SMT? We pretty much disregarded it, right? ES is continuing to trade above highs and continuing to displace through this. We are showing no signs of bearish order flow yet, right? I personally didn't take any trades yesterday, and I know a lot of people are DMing me, how did you miss out on the longs? I honestly just missed out on the longs because I was looking to be more bearish, just because we had an hourly change in state of delivery, and I was just honestly looking to be more bearish, so I missed out on these longs, whatever. Also with that, I know every single time I like post a trade or I take or it's a no trade day or it's a trade that I didn't take or a trade that I did take, a lot of you guys are like, if I took this trade and it was a winner, does this mean that this was a bad trade, that I shouldn't have taken this trade? And that is not necessarily always the case, right? At the end of the day, guys, trading is about having your own conviction in your own setups, in your own model that you have to be following, right? Only you can build that conviction in your own setups, right? Only you. You are the only person, right? Not me. I can't tell you that, right? I can simply help you filter out, though, sometimes what wins and losses might be good or bad, or trades that you might not or shouldn't take, right? Based on my experience of 4 years in the markets, based on, my years of back testing, based on my years, again, of like live market experience. That's what I can tell you. But at the end of the day, right, you have to build on your own conviction and narrative as a trader to actually see any improvement, right? To actually be confident in your model and be confident coming into every single day. That's what's just necessary for you to do as an unprofitable trader to become profitable. But with that, of course, always being a student is very important. And I always preach about how you should always be trying to learn and getting 1% better every single day. And that's what you need also to become a profitable trader. Enough yap though. Let's get back into the charts and back into the analysis, right? We are obviously very bullish on the higher time frame, clearly trending towards this 4-hour high. I think this is just such an obvious draw that we have here. Coming into the day, right? I do think this will get hit by end of day today. And what do we have internal price action wise, right? Well, I see two areas right here, right? Either I see price going a little bit lower, hitting this 15-minute gap, maybe getting an inversion out of that. I think that would be fine. Reasoning for that is because we did have like a pre-market SMT right here with this 4-hour intermediate low. So there was an SMT here, right? But also a lot of pre-market SMTs don't really hold that much. So I was also expecting this to, if for example, let's say this 15-minute gap gets ran through, what can we then expect? Well, then we have this 4-hour intermediate low right here, right? So then that's where I was looking to see price go to. Now, here we go. Let's just play out price a little bit here. Or sorry, it was actually this fair rally gap. Price was a little bit rangy today. But yeah, it was this fair rally gap I was looking to see hold. And I think the SMT was, yeah, sorry, the SMT was here actually. So, bada bing, bada boom. Right, but then if this fair rally gap doesn't hold, what can we expect this 4-hour intermediate low? And really, really obvious, right? What are we doing with these highs also, guys? We're not taking out these highs. We're not taking out these highs above us, right? And displacing lower. No, we are leaving and generating liquidity here for New York Open, right? We're generating liquidity for market open. And what are we going to do? What do we want to see happen if we are going to be bullish? And what is my dream scenario here? Well, for price to run lower, take out stops, and then have a long to go higher, right? And then, the less ideal scenario is for price to pump up, and then maybe we can get like a continuation of like maybe a 5-minute gap, retrace, and we can still play off that move. But like ideal A++ scenario, that will get me the best risk to reward, and that I like to see happen at open is just a 930 open low if I'm bullish, right? And we can clearly see that that is what open did. We have 930, we ended up running higher, but what did we do with this run higher? Did we take out these stops? No, we just added to this liquidity pool, right? So even more confirmation that we are going for a bullish bias, right? Now we did end up trending lower, and then we get a really, really clean 1-minute inverse off this 4-hour intermediate low. Honestly, like I think this is still an A+ setup. We didn't form the unfilled 5-minute gap here yet, which is something that I'm like honestly looking for. Let me see actually. Yeah, that's the thing. Like sometimes when we are still generating this 5-minute gap with this mech model, I find that sometimes this can fail, but it really depends, bro. Sometimes we are just really, really bullish. And then we can just like run through this. But I do find that sometimes when we're still like generating the 5-minute gap here, that these tend to fail a little bit more. But I don't know. I'm honestly going to have to like look back in my journaling for that. But this is just definitely a trade that I'm going to journal just to add more data to that statistic. That being said as well, another reason why this trade could have potentially failed, and I think it did fail for this reason also, was because we did have a 50-minute gap down here. And this is just something that you got to be doing when you're trading with these higher time frame gaps. I'm always preaching about this. Today I didn't really do it just because, again, I had a lot of conviction for longs today. I wasn't going to miss out on this setup. Let's say this worked. I would have been pretty upset that I missed this. But overall, this was, again, a very, very clean setup. We did trade lower, hitting a 15-minute unfilled gap right here. You just got to be zooming into gaps and models within models. So if we have a 4-hour gap, zoom into the 1 hour. See if there's anything unfilled within the 4-hour range that we can go hit. Sometimes we do have that. Go on the 15-minute time frame. Sometimes we have, an unfilled 15-minute right here, which is exactly what I had, which is, something I didn't see at the time. But yeah, that being said, I mean, still, I do believe this is still an A+ setup. It's still an A+ loss, no doubt about it. And it ended up being a loss. Now, I took a loss for 1 RR. Now, this is the beauty of taking, trades that have higher RR, like sometimes like 1 to 2 RR, 1 to 3 RR, is you can make back that loss and more, right? So I immediately recognized that, boom, okay, we swept out this low, right? We still have my draws on liquidity. The way that I can still trade coming into the day, like let's say I take a loss, the only way I can still trade is if my draws are still intact and my overall idea isn't completely invalidated, right? So let's say my idea was completely invalidated and we started just dumping through this, and we had just like immediate dump through that, then I would have been like, okay, maybe I need to reevaluate my bias. Maybe these draws are just going to get left today. Maybe my bias is just simply wrong. But again, like when I'm really, really confident on this, I'm expecting this to hold. I'm expecting this to play out. And, you know, I'm trusting my conviction here. And, you know, not all the time I'm right, of course. But that's it, right? I need to be trusting in my system. I need to be trusting in my model, and trusting in, you know, my overall discretion. So I'm going to give myself 2 shots at that for an entry model to actually confirm whether or not price is going to, you know, go my direction for the day. So we end up getting this 30-second inverse here. This was the highest time frame in the leg, not the cleanest inverse here. The 30-second was pretty tiny, right? But, you know, again, I'm really just focusing on the key levels. I'm focusing on displacement, the inversion, and, you know, my draws on liquidity, all this stuff. A lot of people get way too hung up on the actual, like, entry trigger, which is, you know, just a common problem that I see with a lot of beginner traders, which is completely fine. But just trusting, again, in your discretion and your conviction, and in your trade and in your model at the end of the day, and your bias, right? And yeah, instantaneous displacement. I mean, we get a very clear close through this gap. There was just no hesitation with this. We end up sweeping out the low, right? As well as what did we do with this little wick here? I love when I see price do this. We perfectly trade into CE of this wick and then bounce and then get that reaction. And now with this trade, what was it? It was a 1 to 2 RR for this trade. So I was able to make back that loss and another 1 RR on top of that, right? Which is how I was able to make still like $600 across all my accounts, still 1% or 0.5% on some of them. But yeah, at the end of the day, then this ended up playing out. We had clear trendline liquidity there. I did go break even once we hit this internal high. We did also have ES form a bearish SMT here, but did I care about this bearish SMT? No. Why didn't I care about this bearish SMT? Well, if we look at where this SMT was formed, right? I know a lot of people I'm also going to get the question of why didn't you close when ES took out this high, right? We end up taking out this high here, and I did notice this, right? We can see that this is the high right here, and then this is also a 5-minute bullish for value gap with that, right? So why did I not just close and, you know, get a little bit worse RR, but just close because ES took out this high? Why didn't I do that? Well, reasoning for that is because, again, you guys always have to be focusing on the SMTs that happen first and the SMTs that are happening at key levels and with your intended draw on liquidity. That's the main thing. So if an SMT happens, you know, inside of a 4-hour PD array, inside of this 15-minute gap at this swing low here, that's aligned with the higher time frame trend and bias and higher time frame draw on liquidity, this is more likely going to hold, and this is more likely going to fail, this bearish SMT at the top here. And just logically, if we draw this out, what's more likely going to get hit first in terms of this high? If we have an SMT that gets formed down here, or sorry, the one that, yeah, the SMT that gets formed up here, and we end up going for this high first, right? That's most likely going to happen versus an SMT that's formed all the way down here. This is most likely not going to hit this high first, but that doesn't mean that this is a bearish SMT and a valid SMT, especially because, of course, our draws on liquidity are much, much higher than that, and our key levels are much higher than that, and I expect price to go much higher than that, okay? That being said, that's it. Price did end up ripping all the way there. If you guys held to all those TPs there, congratulations. Beautiful on that. About a 1 to 6 RR on this fucking banger here, if you caught that. And if you took that initial loss and didn't take the reentry, you know, I highly suggest just adding in your rules, just, you know, taking, you know, maybe 2 trades in a day. I always give myself like that 2 trades max loss limit on the day. Me personally, that's what I give myself. And it works pretty well. Sometimes I'm down, you know, more than I want to be. And a lot of people aren't able to handle that psychology of losing 2 trades in a row because then they immediately crash out. So I highly recommend with that, also setting a max loss limit would be very, very important. But yeah, that being said, overall, very, very clean day. February has been beautiful. I've been trading very, very well this month, and I'm really happy with that. So let's keep it up, and I will see you guys. I think I am uploading a video later today. If not today, then tomorrow. And then I also want to upload just some psychology stuff. I want to switch it up on this channel from just the normal trade recaps and stuff. We also did hit 50K, also hit 100K on Insta. So thank you guys so much for that. We're going to keep running up. I'm going to keep spreading as much free information on the internet as possible for you guys that are all, you know, unprofitable traders. I was in your shoes once, so I know exactly what it's like. And I'm giving you guys all the sauce and everything that you need to become a profitable trader. All right. Enough yapping out of me, though. This was a pretty long trade recap, but hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you guys want to start copy trading accounts, I am using TradeSyncer right now. Link is in the description below for that to copy trade all of my accounts. And if you guys want to start trading with Alpha Futures, link is in the description below for that. 3 accounts with them. I got 5 accounts, so Tradeify as well. Link is in the description. Code PB, Apex, 20 accounts. That being said, have a good rest of your day. Have a good rest of your Tuesday, and I will see you guys maybe tomorrow if I take a trade, and I will let you guys know probably on the Instagram story. So I'll see you guys later. Peace out.